Hello and welcome back to another tutorial with me, Jade at So Jealous. So in a couple of our earlier videos we did the slip knot and the foundation chain. We then did a single crochet US terminology, and now we're going to do the half double crochet. Again, this is US terminology. If you've done a workshop with us, you will have in your pack a US to UK conversion chart there to help you understand what stitch I'm referring to if you do prefer to use the UK terms. So half double crochet actually happens to be one of my favourite stitches. It's a bit taller than the single crochet, but it's not as tall as the double crochet. Double crochet is great for working up things quickly, but it is a bit more gappy because the stitch is taller. So I find the half double crochet a nice compromise. And if you have mastered the single crochet, you already have all of the tools and techniques that you need in order to complete your half double crochet. The only thing that changes is the order in which that you do things. So I've got a little sample here that I'm going to work through for purposes of this tutorial. So you'll see here that I am working back along a row of stitches, and I'm going to be working under both parts of the V, which is the stitch below, as we would have done previously. Now, if you've been around for my other videos, you know that I refer to going into my stitch as going into the cave, and that's just something to bear in mind here. So when I say going into the cave, it means going underneath both parts of the stitch. So you'll see here that both parts of the V shape sit on top of my crochet hook, and that is what I mean when I say I'm going into the cave. So in order to do the half double crochet, like I say, the order is just slightly different. So what we're going to do before we enter our cave is we're going to wrap over or yarn over the crochet hook. So in order to do this, it's the same motion that we have used before. So we're wrapping from behind to the front. And as before, we want to make sure that our yarn stays on our crochet hook. So we hold it just very lightly with our finger. And then we take that into the cave. The crochet hook goes into the cave and we wrap exactly the same from behind to front, making sure that our yarn sits in the throat of our crochet hook. And then we pull that loop forward. And you can see here that I've got 3 loops on my hook. Now what I do is I create some tension by pulling down on my project. I wrap, and then you're going to be pulling through all 3 stitches. Now in the beginning this will be quite difficult. You can see here as an example, I was able to pull through the first loop, then I had to sort of take a moment and come back and pull through the remainder 2. That is normal, it happens in the beginning. So again, we're going to go into our project, but before we do so, we wrap and we hold that wrap. We go into our cave and we wrap again from behind, coming around the front of the crochet hook, making sure that it sits in the throat. And we have 3 loops. As we come out of the cave, we're going to pull down on the project to create some tension. We're going to wrap and we're going to pull through all 3 stitches or loops on our crochet hook. So again, we're going to wrap, hold that wrap, and then we're going to enter our cave. Just re-showing you from behind through to the front, holding it, going into the cave and wrapping, coming out of the cave, creating some tension by pulling the project down, wrapping, and then pulling through all 3 hoops. And like I say, don't be disheartened if you find going through all 3 in one fluid motion difficult. You don't need to worry about that. So again, I'm just showing you with my thumb and my 3rd finger, I'm pinching my project and I'm pulling that down, and that creates more tension, giving more room for my crochet hook to go through my actual project or fabric that I'm making. So just to reiterate, I'm going to wrap, I'm going to hold my wrap before I enter my cave, and the wrap always is from behind over the top to the front. I'm going to turn my crochet hook so it's facing downwards, and I'm going to hold that wrap before I enter the cave. And the reason we want the crochet hook facing downwards is because it makes it easier to enter the stitch or enter the cave. So I'm going to find that hole, entering the cave. Both parts of the V now sit on top of my crochet hook. I'm wrapping again from behind over the top to the front, catching the yarn in the throat of the hook before coming back out of my cave. I'm wrapping, and then I am turning my crochet hook so it faces down again, and I'm going to create some tension, and I'm going to pull through all 3 stitches. So we're just going to do this all the way along the chain. And when you get to your row, I should say, when you get to the end of your row, we are going to have to do a turning chain. And if you've watched any other videos, you know that the turning chain is basically a ladder, so that when you work in your next row, you're starting at the correct height. If we don't include a turning chain, our stitch will be very tight at the edge, and then they'll gradually get taller as we go along, and that will distort the shape of the fabric that we're making. So we need to make sure that we do a turning chain. Now, how many chains you do for your turning chain is going to depend on how tight your tension is. So here I've worked all the way along my row. You can see here that the half double crochet is quite taller. The first 2 rows are single crochet, and that row that we've just done is half double crochet, and it's not too much smaller than 2 rows of single crochet. Now my tension is, relatively normal. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. So for me, I complete a chain 1 at the end of my row, and that is literally chaining like you did in your foundation row. If my tension was very tight, I may need to consider chaining 2 here. So again, I'm working a bit tighter here, and I'm going to chain 2, and that again would create the height that I need so that when I turn, I'm starting at the correct level. So that is the half double crochet, and I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. There's other videos in the series to watch, but thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.